It's our second last series of the regular split. We're kicking it off. It's got Kanga, it's got Antic, two teams that have very mixed results at the moment, but two teams that have advanced all the way through to our playoffs. So let's start with Kanga. Let's have a look at this lineup and the players that are currently on form and on track to be hitting those playoffs, Skimmy.
Yeah, well, Kanga's an interesting roster, right? Because they are one that have had a bit of a mixed bag. A win, 2 draws, and 3 defeats. And it's a case of trying to figure out exactly where they do stand. Obviously, 5th and 6th, they're no doubt going to be pretty stoked about making it into the playoffs in the very first place. But I feel like you look at the roster in its essence. Invictus came into this one as this hot new solo queue jungler, had these very unique picks like the Renga, like the Kha'Zix, went to go for those 4 clears, played the full clear Udyr, but in recent weeks has certainly looked to try and conform more to the meta with champions like the Xin Zhao. Obviously, Refury debuted on the brand new patch of Talia, and in that same patch we had Styx, as you can see right here, had a phenomenal debut, really not showing any signs of any jitters. Obviously had a lot of communication with the rest of his team saying, hey, what does it feel like? But as he even mentioned, after 5 minutes the game sort of really took care of itself, and yeah, there he goes. A little bit of riz for the camera right afterwards as well. So look, either way.
Oh my god, he was mewing. I was thinking back on this when he put his finger up for the shush. I was like, was this man? Did we catch the end of him mewing? Nah, he just did it in reverse order. He started with the shush and then he went for the jawline there. Sorry to cut you off, Skip, but because we have the Antic roster here up on our screen, we may as well go ahead and talk about them. And I want to hear from you, Max, about this roster.
Well, they're very good, Nat. They've only lost games to Bliss, who are obviously the first seed that we have currently in the league. And they have just been rinsing through the rest of the competition. I mean, yes, they have been tested at times, but it ultimately feels like the experience of this roster has been paying dividends, especially around mid lane, who I know we'll talk about Ryoma later on, but has been having an absolute blinder of a performance. This is a team that really knows their identity. Swiper in the jungle coming in with a role swap has really picked up the engage macro style very well, and combining with Draku, they're a very potent support jungle duo, making room for their carries who we already know are so capable of winning.
I remember at the start of this split when that roster and role swap happened and we had to see Swiper go into the jungle and Zoranus came up. He was talking about how he wasn't sure, about being on this starting roster, if that's where he kind of wanted to be. And I hope that this performance has instilled that like he very much belongs on a starting roster. He's always had such an outstanding performance in that top lane. So super impressive for them to be able to stay as steady as they have been over this last split in the last 6 weeks. So big props to them. But you're right, we are going to have a little bit of a chat about Ryoma. There were some stats. Again, Skip, you love the stats. I may as well throw it to you to kick us off with some Ryoma stats.
Oh, look, all I'm going to say now is he's just far too good at the video game. Look at him, he is the king of O's. There is the crown on his head, and for good reason too. Look at this KP for a mid laner, 80%. Nobody even comes close to him in the LCO. But then he says, you know what, Skimmy? I can do you one better. Look how much damage share I do, not only for O's, I'm #1 in the world. Really is putting us on the map there to showcase just how good of a performance he's been delivering. Second globally then for that DPM, still retaining nearly a 1,000 average is absolutely crazy. The gold obviously there as well, so he got 499. That is third globally with an average of 8 kills per game. I mean, it is just phenomenal. There's not really a bad word you can say about him in these recent weeks, right? And there's obviously been a lot of conversation as who is that best mid lane in the league? Is it Harry? Is it Ryoma? Is it Kisei? They all shine in different reasons, but right now, Ryoma, I mean, if you see him on that Azir champion, I say good night. You know, you'd bet your entire house on that one.
Yeah, this is the advice that we have for anyone that has to come up against Ryoma, whether it's now, whether it's later on. Skimmy is absolutely begging, but is there anything else outside of the banning Azir that could give you a slight advantage over Ryoma and mid there, Max?
I don't even know. I think 1v1 he's fine basically versus anyone. Hayri is the only person who I can really flag as being able to actually contest him in lane. And I think that he kind of said something himself in the interview, right? So I think that coming in, if you're playing against Ryoma, a lot of your plan has to revolve around shutting him down early, because we've seen him just get aggressive and really push leads, right? Not only is he beating your mid laner in CS, but he's also pushing under the turret, getting plates and really breaking open the game that way. So unless you're going to fall down to that and have this Azir or Orianna who's super scaled and we see just dishing out ridiculous amounts of damage, you're going to have to do something about it.
Well, I want to flip back to Kanga, have a bit of a chat about them. In fact, have a talk to them because I did just get word that Wudon is joining us. He's here standing by. Let's get him in. Wudon, hello. How have you been and how excited are you for this series knowing that there's no playoffs on the line? You know, you guys have already been secured for playoffs.
Yeah, so knowing we are secure for playoffs, I think we're a little bit more comfortable in like playing to like our style because we have nothing to lose, right? So I think we'll want to try do everything we can to win because there's nothing we can lose right now.
Yeah, you say nothing to lose. Does it matter for you guys or for you personally if you come into playoffs at 5th, 6th, or you're just like, hey, whatever, let's just enjoy this last best of 2 in the regular split?
I mean, to be honest, if you want to get into PCS playoffs, right, you have to be like the top 2, and you do have to beat the top 2 teams in O. So you have to beat everyone. So it's not really a matter of like who we're versing to like give us the best chance. You will have to verse everyone and beat them if you want to be the top 2. So it doesn't really matter for us who we're versing.
I love that answer. That's such a good, confident answer. What are some goals then for this best of 2? I know you briefly mentioned that you want to just play your style, but what exactly does that look like?
I think in practice against most teams, if we get the champions that we're most comfortable on, especially top and mid, I think we had good results against any of the teams. So we want to draft confidently. We don't want to like play into their cards. I think we'll just play what we're all comfortable on, and we should be in a winning position.
Awesome. Skimmy, you want to ask some questions?
Yeah, well, sort of carrying on your question then, Nat. I love the confidence that you played the Riven the other day. That was a phenomenal champion for us to see in action once again. But sort of talking a bit more about some of the stats that you have, is it a conscious, like, is there anything in the back of your mind you're constantly aware of? Because you've got the most solo kills in this league, 18. Nobody even comes close. But at the same time, we can see you sometimes play the Aatrox and go 0-2-0. So how does this happen, mate? Why are we here?
I know there's like a stereotype of top laners that it's like an island and you don't like group with your teammates, but obviously I would group with my team if I think it's like a winning position. But in the end, like I'm just trying to maximize the gold I can get for myself. And if it's a winning team fight, I'll join. If it's not, then I'll just play for myself, you know?
Love it. Love it.
The top laner mentality. We do have time if you want to ask a question too, Max.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Wudon, I wanted to ask how it's been slotting Styx into the roster, right? You guys looked absolutely fantastic against the Direwolves when he came out and really had a great performance. How have you been and how have you found working with him?
Yeah, Styx has been a really good replacement, and Relo was also a very good player. I was very satisfied with like how he was playing in the scrims and in the competitive games, but I think we didn't get the season started as we wanted to, and we just needed like a change in atmosphere. So like Relo wasn't like a bad player, was definitely like one of the best we could have had, but I think Styx just gave us like a different mood, and that kind of uplifted our team.
Yeah, and it worked out perfectly.
All right, Wudon, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you giving all that information and good luck today.
Thank you.
See ya. You can vouch for that one, can't you, Max? The atmosphere that Styx could bring to a team environment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that sometimes he kind of hit the nail on the head as well, where it's literally not even a gameplay issue. It just is sometimes you need to do something slightly differently, and that'll pay off dividends. And really, I think Styx coming in, whether it be a communication thing, whether it be just like a general vibe thing, has seemed to have changed how the team's functioning.
Yeah. Do you know how much he's participating for these draft things? Like, could that also be something that he's changing up a little bit for that roster?
I think he spoke a little bit about it in his interview. I think he tries to not be too adamant about what he wants and try to change the draft around him, especially since AD carry is kind of this stock standard. You get to pick from 3 champions today. Like, it's not this wild thing where you get to go and play whatever. So I think he's very happy to kind of slot into the team and continue what they've been building.
Yeah, I love that. We're going to jump into our second interview, though, right now. We've got Swiper. Let's bring him in. Let's ask him some questions. Swiper, hello. How are you feeling for today?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Yeah, pretty good, you know. We've had a pretty good a pretty good week of scrims, I would say. And we're ready to show that we're going to be performing a lot better fine today, so...
I mean, you say a lot better, but you guys obviously already have pretty good results. Are you still vying for that second? I mean, like, everyone wants to win, right? But is it like this mentality of we want to come in second? Or do you just more want to focus on, like, improving this gameplay and showing that that's what's main focus for you?
I think our main objective is just to get better and not have these, like, sloppy games, especially against, like, more of the bottom-end teams. Like, I think a lot of our wins we could have lost pretty easily last week. and we also got pummeled by Bliss. So it's definitely not like wasn't a great week for us overall. And even though we are second, I mean, I would say top 3 is pretty close. So we want to definitely like push ourselves ahead of the pack, and that's our goal starting like this last week of scrims. We've been taking it pretty seriously. So hopefully today is good.
Yeah, hopefully. What would you say is one of the key learnings? Not necessarily a weakness, but just like a big takeaway from the last 6 weeks of regular split for you.
For our team in particular, I think we just have been having trouble, especially in the early game, of like getting on the same page. I think we have like a lot of good ideas, but it doesn't really matter how good your roster is if you aren't making the same decision. So that's kind of just something that we've been trying to iron out and get aligned on more. And yeah, I do think in the last, especially few scrim sets, we've been capitalizing on that. And I mean, this split is pretty close. It's going to be an exciting playoffs, I think. So we just got to be ready for it.
Yeah, I could imagine. I'll do it reverse order. Max, you can go first for this interview.
Hey Swips, look, Draku kind of talked about a similar thing in terms of the engage and shot calling between you two kind of being a bit desynced at times. I want to know how you've been working with him individually to try to iron those out.
Yeah, it was definitely a big talking point for us in review a lot. Just kind of like either we go too far forward when our carries are like not ready, or we don't pull the trigger fast enough, especially when everyone's around. So we just have to have a lot of conversations and just like look at fights together and get aligned. And that also involves like our carries and knowing what they want to do in the fights. And I mean, it's just a reps game, to be honest. And like we just got to keep working at it and hope that like it'll be at like top shape by the end of the split.
Yeah, we're all going to make it.
Do you think that's a little bit of a mix of the role swap for you coming back to playing, or do you think like in any roster you probably would have had a little bit of those issues, and it is just something that as time progresses it will fix itself?
Yeah, no, I think it's probably like a combination of the three. I think probably the biggest thing for me is that just taking the 3 years off has definitely, I mean, the game has changed a lot. Back when I used to play, any single engage you did worked, and like players didn't really flush anything. So just learning like my limits in a competitive environment, not just like solo queue, has been something that I've been working on. I probably would have had the exact same problems if I played top this split as well. But ultimately I've been enjoying it quite a lot. I think jungling for me has been easier than like, I mean, early season when I was playing top, I was kind of getting rinsed by like even master solo queue top laners. So it's been a decent transition for me, and yeah, like I mean, I'm enjoying the ride, so I have faith that we'll pull it together and I think we'll still win the split.
Skimmy, I hate to do it to you. We don't have time for you to ask a question, so I do apologize. I kind of stole your time there, but we do have a series to jump to. We've got a game to jump to, so Swiper, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for the candid answers, and good luck.
No worries. Thanks, everybody.
See ya. I'm so sorry, Skimmy. You can ask me the question, and I can pretend to answer it.
Okay, you put on your best Swiper impression. All I was going to ask him was, like, how much are you guys going to try and lead on that experience, right? That veteran status in those BO3s and BO5s, especially if you guys make it a DreamHack, where it's a very different atmosphere, right? Playing on stage versus playing online. But
yeah, look, I think
we'll
if we do make it to stage, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because obviously we've got to give respect to all the teams and all the players, but if we do end up there, it doesn't matter what opponent, but I think we're definitely going to have the most amount of experience out of everyone because it's just this mental pacing sort of game. Giving the most like blanket answer that I feel like any player would give there. But while I was just making that stuff
I was Swiper for a second, far out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually was getting it fed into my ear from him. No, but while that was coming up, we did have a quick look at the side select there. If you guys didn't see it, it was Kanga picked red side for themselves, Antic picked blue side, so they're going to be staying on the same sides for both games. If you want to have your say, make sure you use your channel points. Put in your Twitch predictions because I honestly don't know what else you're going to do with those channel points. So put them all in for either Antic or for Kanga. And if you need a little bit of help of maybe where you want to put those channel points, our predictions all the same again. 2-0 for Antic here, Skimmy.
Yeah, look, I want to say it seems a little bit predictable, but I think there is a degree of volatility that can certainly come from this game. I'd look to the top lane in particular. I feel like Zoranus and Woodon should certainly showcase that they want to have some 1v1s if given the chance. And I think in the bot lane too, wouldn't put it past the likes of King and Styx to try and have a bit of a battle and try and showcase, you know, we deserve to be in this playoff discussion, and, you know, that gap isn't just the top three, but, you know, there's these young exciting prospects that want to showcase that, hey, you have all this experience, you've won all these tournaments, but, keep an eye on me as well.
You don't feel that with the addition of Sticks and, the potential issues that Antic might have, that it won't be a 1-1 at all, Max?
No, not really. Look, I think Sticks is great. He's fantastic. He changes up the atmosphere, but Antic is still better players. They've still got that experience, and I still think they've looked a lot more cohesive throughout their wins.
Look, I tried to sway you, maybe give myself a little bit more of a lead, but we'll see how accurate our our talent predictions are here for this series, because game number 1, Champ Select, is ready.
Beautiful. Well, let's do it then. Let's see what happens. It's our final day of the regular season, and a chance to see what these teams have been cooking up and what they want to really get some reps on stage with before they go into the playoffs. It's another first pick for Smolder. And look, we said we wanted to see this champion. It got banned away the first time, but now everybody feels like, you know what? It's time to play.
They heard you, Skimmy. Absolutely everybody heard you. 80 carries now are flocking to this pick here, as it will be going into the hands of King, you'd have to assume. Now, this is a champion who we did manage to see yesterday in the hands of Lemus, but it really didn't get to kind of take over the game like you would have liked it to see, just purely because the rest of his team was winning. Instead, it took more of a bit of a backseat. And we will be able to see what it can get to when it does try to hit those 225 stacks. Really becomes a monster, especially if you are going either of the builds really that can, I guess, influence the game. But it's going to be responded with by this Senna and Talia. Talia is a pick that Re3 found a lot of success on in their previous series against the Direwolves, constantly finding picks, constantly finding engages, and threatening roams down towards that bot lane.
Yeah, he certainly did. There was also a world, Max, where I was thinking, how do we try to counter Ryoma here? Maybe Refury says, you know what, I'll just actually take the Azir away from you. But no, decides to go for the Talia once again. And I think it's honestly a fairly heads-up play, right? Looks to try and disable the amount of mobility the opposition can go for. And if you are looking to try and be proactive on the map, you can always use that Weaver's Wall to rotate on down. Begs the question now, what does Ryoma actually want to pick it? Would he just go for another control mage? Or does he say, I don't even care about that minefield, I'll just still kill you anyway?
Yeah, the LeBlanc's an interesting pick here. Kind of speaks to Ryoma's confidence in this matchup, because like you said, that Talia E is a bit of a menace into the LeBlanc W. However, you can still kind of get on top of her, use all of that mobility to land the chains, and then kind of continue the trade that way. But the thing that really stands out to me is Antic picking up the Tahm Kench for themselves, right? They're kind of trying to deny this center Tahm Kench combo from coming through, as well as providing a little bit more survivability to their Smolder. However, a pick like that will open the door for Invictus to pick up his brand, which is something we've seen him find a lot of success on in that jungle. Particularly being able to hit those melees, stack your passive up is a really nice time for this champion.
So he is very, very strong champion. But we'll get to see now what they decide to do in this second half of the ban phase, with Kanga removing away the Vi. Antic deciding no chance for the Nautilus, given that the center needs a pairing. And with that Tahm Kench already taken away, the premier options are certainly being removed from the table. And with that Nautilus taken away too, certainly does limit the options. We could go into some uncharted territory when we bust up things like the Senna Scion, perhaps. But we'll have to wait and see. I'd love the Cho'Gath, but I feel like that is a Hex Flash speciality. But Kanga have gone for the Vi and the Jarvan. Let's see what for Antic go for their 5th ban.
Yeah, I like the Nautilus ban here from the Antic. I think that it provides way too much lockdown, especially when you do have that Talia, who's also threatening with that flick back combo, as well as the Brand, who really does need a fair bit of setup and a fair bit of tankiness in front of him if he wants to be able to play as effectively as he will be. But you have to imagine the pick will be looking towards Kurak here. And like you mentioned, there is a whole variety of champions that really could be gone to here, especially with how versatile Kurak's champion pool is. Definitely remains flexible. You can see the deliberation coming out here as he tries to decide what he wants to pick into his matchup. Instead, they're actually going to opt to pick up the Ornn here. Blind pick top lane for Woodon.
Yeah, this is crazy. He's only played it once. He didn't have the best time up against Fury. Went 1-7. Certainly not a vote of confidence if you look at that stat in isolation, but he'll hopefully be figuring that if this game does go late enough, they've got the late game damage of a Brand, they've got the ornaments coming through that we will not mention by those ornament upgrade names, as well as the center to scale themselves into oblivion. But Antic have said, you know what, we just want to keep being aggressive. Let's get ourselves a Zen in the jungle, and let's now consider what is our best pairing into the Ornn. Would it still be the Cassante? That's what Zoranus wants.
I mean, why not just slam the Cassante?
Wait
It's so broken here. Yeah, you do wonder with this Aatrox hover whether the lanes have actually been fully confirmed here. We'll have to see what they want to pick up with their 5P, but it's a nice Xin Zhao pickup with the LeBlanc in the mid lane, right? Providing so much skirmishing value going into something like a Brand Talia. But this time is getting very low, and it's going to be the Aatrox locked in, Skimmy. So this is an Ornn bot lane, I'm assuming? That's what
You'd
I'm
have to
thinking, because the Aatrox has a fantastic matchup into the K'Sante. He feels pretty fine playing that. And the Ornn as well can scale and be that tanky member towards the bot lane. So Kurak, I mean, we talk about ridiculously large champion pools, but this is just a whole nother level.
It really is, and he's been certainly one of my most exciting prospects to keep an eye on this season, right? He's busted out so many new champions, obviously had a phenomenal clutch performance on that Zilean. I'm expecting something wild and wacky from this Ornn as well. There was a part of me that thought, okay, once upon a time you could have Ornn flex into the mid lane, Talia in the jungle, maybe Brand in the bot lane, but I thought maybe they're cooking a little bit too much if that were to be the case. Either way though, I feel like Woodon has definitely looked his most comfortable when he's been playing the Aatrox. He's got the most reps on it, and it could be the PV 0-2-0 style, or it could just absolutely pop off and just get all the kills in the world.
Yeah, and I'm trying to just go back to this Ornn center bot lane, because I think the reason they've gone for something like this is because it's the Tahm Kench Smolder in the bot lane. This is a very weak early game lane that's not able to put a lot of pressure onto that Ornn pick, so hopefully he will be able to scale. Now, keep in mind, the fact that Ornn isn't traditionally seen as a center pairing is because experience is something that he values quite highly, right? He wants to be able to build towards those masterwork items. Yeah. And plain and simple, being in that bot lane is going to mean that he gets there later. Now, obviously, it still will be a very scary bot lane if you do get to that 30-40 minute mark, but the question is, can you make it there?
Well, that is the question, right? Obviously, depleted XP is going to make it a little bit harder for them to achieve, but I think the overarching theme still remains true that Kanga do have a ton of scaling in their back pocket, and a consideration if this game were to go late enough, that center will be packing a fairly big punch. Support or not, it's going to be a scary prospect, but Kurak actually going to go for the support item right off the bat here as we load into the Rift. The stakes not as high as they would have been otherwise. All 6 teams locked for playoffs. Really, this is a confirmation of what those seedings could really look like, and already from the very get-go, it's Ryoma copying a fair bit of damage here from Refury.
Yeah, we'll trade it back with the Electrocute, but the phase rush from Refury going to allow him to escape there. It's an interesting pickup on the Talia. I think he's kind of valuing this more so into Xin Zhao than the LeBlanc. Really wants to get away from that swiper if he does get pounced on in any potential ganks. But like you mentioned, it's going to be a support item coming out for Kurak here. Something we've been seeing less and less of as supports are tending to favor the more aggressive lane options. And speaking of aggressive lane options, Draku, not only does he have the Doran's Ring, but he's also got the Arcane Comet here. So looking to lay a fair bit of poke onto this bot lane of Kanga.
So he is going to try and make it a little bit more aggressive, given that you said that it's going to be a fairly passive standoff that should really take place here in the bot lane. Obviously, Tahm Kench known for being very, very tanky, but going this route means that you want all that poke, all that harass, and say that we can't just passively scale into the Swamp because of myself and the Smolder land any bit of damage. Yeah, you're in a bit of trouble.
I mean, he's in a lot of trouble right now. You can see his health bar is about half already on the first wave here. So while Smolder and Tahm Kench isn't typically your most dominant duo, they're certainly having their way with the lane level 1. And that's really the issue with this bot lane, right? You can see that they do have fantastic scaling, but once again, if you're getting shut down, and if you're losing your turret so early because they're able to stack waves, there's another nasty W there from King. It can become a real problem. Now, keep in mind the jungler's pathing as well here. We can see Swiper is working his way down towards the bot lane, so potentially will be able to arrive and for a dive, whereas Invictus opting to full clear towards his top lane, kind of leaving his bot lane to survive on their own devices. Yeah, it's a scary sight.
Really is brutal, right? Between the sneezing of the Smolder and the tongue lash there of the Tahm Kench. There is just so much harass going out. The Kurak is just not going to be able to survive, really, at this stage. He's going to sit back and say, well, I can hit the Bellows Breath, but is that CC immunity going to be anywhere near enough to try and sustain through this amount of pressure, as really all the lanes are working in their favor right now. There's only really Zonis that is lagging behind. As you already mentioned, right, that 5th pick of the Aatrox is going to be a phenomenal matchup for Woodon to try and exert his lead in. But for the rest of the map, it should be a bit of a paradise then for Swiper to really do as he pleases.
The good thing is that Invictus did clear all of his bot side, right? So there's no potential invade. This Brand is still going to be able to get his full clear off nicely. The real issue does come after Swiper completes his camps here, and you can see that the Antic bot lane, with full control really over these waves, might be looking to stack something up and get a dive here. It's a very low HP Ornn, and we know how Swiper likes his dives, but Refury's just solo killed Ryoma.
There's just no way for all the props and hype that we gave Ryoma. Mr. Refury, he's just gone on in. He's in with the smile, he's waved, and he's picked up the first blood.
I have no idea how that happened there in the mid lane. You can see he does have to expend the flash as a result, and here's Swiper
He's greeted for it though. He stayed around a little bit too long in this mid lane. Instantly punished. You've got no health. You've got no money. You've got no way out of this sticky situation.
So he will get traded back there, but Ryoma is the one who picks up the kill and has a Dark Seal as well. So yes, 100 gold is the individual difference, but overall gold going in favor of Ryu Fury. As we take this look once again, you can see full HP bars to start this play here. It doesn't look like anyone's anytime close to death, but it's just a nice flick into the turret. Gets him under there, tanks 2 turret shots and just flushes, catches Ryoma off guard.
So he does catch him off guard as Invictus now is going to make a bit of a trek into the spot lane as the red buff does a fair amount of damage right now. Not very often you see a brand go for the sneaky little lane invade and try and force the gank in this regard, but clearly the communication has been, we are just losing this lane to poke, or we need some form of assistance. And you'd imagine that both King and Draco will still be fairly keen to try and get aggressive given their options of damage, but based on the lane state, it's just wasted time here.
Yeah, I think the reason he comes down there is to try to shove the wave in, but the poke lands.
It does. Draco goes in with the Abyssal Dive. That means that Kurak turns it around and Invictus goes a full 180, turns it around and says, I'm back to the bot lane, boys. I'm here to help, but King is gone. Draco's so tanky, and they've lost Kurak in the process.
Ryu Fury is down towards this bot lane. There are no sums here for the Antic laners. King will escape it. Can Draco? The wave's being shoved in. They're going to look to dive him.
Yeah, I'm going to look to try and dive this one, but yeah, it's just taking too long to crash that wave, right? So ultimately, twice now, it's just been wasted time for the brand, for the mid laner, for both Ryoma to win the mid lane with 3 tower plates, and for then Swiper just to get all these void grubs uncontested.
Yeah, absolute tragedy. It also allows Ryoma a fair bit of time up in this mid lane to re-establish his lead against Ryu Fury on this Talia, and ultimately it just comes back down to the advantage that Antic's bot lane are able to secure early on, right? The HP going in their favor means that even with Invictus down to the bot lane, they're still the ones who are able to pick up the kill, and then this Smolder with a Ghost, with your flap, really just able to navigate any sticky situation and get out alive.
I like how you weave that one in there, mate. That was beautifully done.
Yeah.
Seamless.
Yeah, like that.
That's why you're a caster, mate. You've got that one on repeat. Let's see what happens here as Swiper goes for a cheeky little invade towards the enemy Raptors. Invictus is fully aware of this one, but hasn't revealed his positioning just yet, and may not do, as the Raptors are actually going to reset, and Swiper says, hang on a minute, this invade is no longer looking anywhere near as attractive, but it's still going to sit around, as Ryoma once again gets shoved back into the tower, but not enough to get tower aggro.
It's a bit of a tricky situation there for Invictus, because not only does he lose the 1v1 against the Jin Zhao, as he actually lands here from Ornn.
Yeah, the headbutt into the wall knocks him up for the meantime. The center route connects as well, but Draco goes on the offense and turns it around with an Abyssal Dive. He sneezes onto Kurak right afterwards, and this harass is starting to become fairly unbearable. It's just too much damage to contend with.
You know what, I take back what I said about this not being an oppressive lane draw. The Comet adaptation plus the Smolder W just does so much work, and you can see that Styx and Kurak have been kept under their turret for the entire game here. Really Antic running away with the laning phase, and as well, we saw earlier in the mid lane, those kills going over, but it's a 20 CS lead in favor of Ryoma, who just continues to dominate these laning phases despite falling down earlier.
Yeah, he can fall down for first blood, but he's got those fundamentals on lockdown, and one poor roam, and you certainly do get punished with waves stacked against you, with tower plates picked up as a result, and once again, just all this pressure for Swipe to do really as he pleases. Instant panic flash to safety goes Invictus, and Zoranez just checks and says, what's going on here?
It's so sad for Kanga, right? You can see that Invictus wants to get that invade off his Ryu Fury.
He's in a lot of trouble right now, stuck in place by the ethereal chains, and in the end is forced to try and run away with those pebbles flinging from afar. But it's another massive wave about to crash, and Refu's going to miss out on that goal, but he's trying to be in range just to get the experience.
Yeah, but him trying to stay in range there is actually going to result in him losing even more, because it delays his base and allows Ryoma to crash these extra waves. Now, level 8 to level 6 here in this mid matchup. But to go back to that earlier play, Invictus, he tries to counter jungle because he knew Swiper was on that dragon, and it simply just is a nice roam from Zoranus to prevent that from happening, and even burn the summoner spell while doing so. So he will manage to defend his camps here, but it's not a good sign when your brand is down 10 CS against the Xin Zhao.
Well, that's exactly the point I want to try and focus in on, right? It's not really too often we see a brand get out-tempoed in the jungle, right? It certainly has been a case where we see them blitz through the jungle very, very quickly, rush back to base, pick up that Rylai's, and you think, okay, this brand can literally 1v9 so early on into this game. But we are certainly a world away from that one. Swipe has been incredibly active on this map. be it the first Dragon, all those Void Grubs, the Invade, the CS lead, as you say. The game really is theirs to take right now, and you're certainly relying on the likes of Woodon to try and exert his lead into this K'Sante matchup.
Yeah, he's accrued himself a decent, one wave CS lead here. Nothing too crazy. Both top laners did TP back to lane to fancy their lane states. And you can see ultimately against the K'Sante, the only things you can really get unless there is kind of a solo kill opportunity, because K'Sante tries to all out, are those plates. And you can see with Woodon stacking up the wave now, gets a nice little trade. And will probably look to crack open one of those plates for himself. But meanwhile, bot lane, you can see Smolder is just so annoying to get on top of. With the Ornalt now coming out, you do have a potential way of locking him down. But even then, there's just so much survivability, so much mobility coming out of this Antic bot lane that it becomes an issue trying to actually punish them for their over-aggression.
Well, you think about, as you say, with level 6 online, just how annoying it is to try and lock this Smolder down in terms of he can always flap through the walls and try and dodge out that initial, charge combo by the Ornn. If that's not successful enough, out comes the Devourer as well. And we certainly saw in a previous series that Draku was pretty much on point with those Devours to save him. As Roma goes to a bit of a face check there, just a scatter if anybody from the side of Kanga were looking to try and contest these Void Grubs. In the process, he loses 50% of his HP, but not enough to try and deter them from still sticking to their guns and saying, 5 stacks have been picked up, let's just go for the luxury and get all 6 here.
But how do you even walk in here as Brand? You have no flash against the LeBlanc Xin Zhao, who both have that summoner spell available. If you do walk up even the slightest bit, you can just get collapsed upon and fall down. So unfortunately for Invictus, he's not going to be able to get into the pit, and that's going to mean all 6 Void Grubs going over to Antic here. As Swiper, who really has been, like you said, just running the map here. The Dragon secured, assist secured in the mid lane, and now these Void Grubs. He's showing no sign whatsoever of being a new transfer into this jungle role.
He certainly isn't. Looks like he's got infinite experience on this one. What I tell you is very interesting for me, though, is this initial lane flip, right? The fact that they want to say that Woodon's getting a little bit too big for his boots right now. We need to shut that down. Out goes the Ignite right off the bat there by Dragon as he tanks up this tower. Down comes the Dragon. In goes the kill. And King, with a clutch Devour, is denied that tower shot, which could have taken him down.
Perfect aggro juggling there from Antic. Draku tanking immediately with the Ignite. Such high value into the Aatrox, who has so much healing when he's in that World Ender, and you can see off the back end of that play, yes, the turret's supercharged, and yes, it would have killed King if it was able to get that last hit off, but there's a nice Devourer to come through. And meanwhile, on the bottom side, this K'Sante nowhere near as squishy as this Aatrox, so we'll be feeling absolutely fine to lose a couple minions, but allow his team to get the kill on the top side. And, Woodon, who really was the only winning lane there for Kanga, getting shut down as well, really nullifies any potential advantage that Kanga had.
And it really is, for me, Max, a phenomenal opportunity for them to say, okay, based on this timing, we've rotated this many members up to the top lane to guarantee these Void Grubs. Let's go top, let's punish Woodon, and it's worked. They've got that kill, instant reset, back to the bot lane they go, and they say, no, Styx and Correct, did you guys miss us? Because we're now even stronger if it wasn't already annoying enough to try and deal with us.
And Antic's been a team who are very willing to do these unorthodox lane swaps. I remember one of their games, they also brought up their bot lane to the mid lane at a very odd time to try to contest those grubs. So definitely a team that values that early objective, values, I guess, that early opportunity to fight. And like you said, it will yield positive results. And Essence Reaver now picked up 4 King on this Smolder, so gonna...
But I think it should be pretty phenomenal overall, the fact that based on the amount of push that Antic have had, they're going to find infinite value from these Void Grubs. Let's see what happens here as Zonas goes for the all-out mode. Actually drags Woodon all the way through, and he's just getting battered on down. He's going for the solo kill, and the king of solo kills dies to his own sword. Well, let's see now what happens in this bot lane as Kanga are going to try and turn things around and say what's going on here at the Dragon. They're going to look towards this one. Let's see what we can find as a result of this. As first one went the way of Antic. Seemingly, the second one going to go in favour of Kanga. No contest here from Antic, and no reason to. They're winning their lanes. Certainly are going to stick to that. They're quite content in that regard. So let's run it back to the replay and see what happened here. It's as simple as Kurak just looking to try and roam into that pixel bush. Still he contests that ward as the chains connect here from Styx into the headbutt combo. And, well, there you go, Draku. Not much you can really do about that one. You can protect your AD carry, but you certainly cannot protect yourself. So, nearly 14 minutes into this one, as those plates are about to fall on down. It is a near 2k gold lead here for Antic. Certainly in a position they want to find themselves. Let's see then where all that gold is dispersed, and despite all that really good work that Refury put in at the start, he's only just beating out his jungler. Certainly not the best start to find here, but it is Ryoma once again on top with 5,500 gold.
You can see all members as I've just had a bit of a technical issue, but I'm back now. Thank you for filling Skimmy. We see back into the action right away here with Kanga looking onto mid lane, but this is a LeBlanc. He's very immobile.
Certainly is. Cordial ult, in it goes. Charge out that one, get flashed up on, get hit by the Dawning Shadow to the face. And you can try and be fancy feet, play happy feet, but it doesn't matter. We threw everything at you to guarantee that kill.
Yeah, they do secure the kill there, somehow locking down Ryoma on this LeBlanc. And they will want to look at the Herald as a result. You can see they brought Wudon down as well, so everyone from Kanga is in this area. Looks like they'll be able to secure this objective, but it's not going over for free, Skimmy. You can see on the bot side of the map, Zoran is there picking up the waves, will be hitting this turret. It does go down slowly because he's a Cassante, but will be certainly a nice chunk nonetheless, especially with those 6 void grubs.
Certainly will be. Just so much damage for him to win on so many different fronts, right? If you invest all those resources, be it members and time towards one part of the map, we will just beat you in macro. We'll play to the side lanes, and we'll open up the map to make it even easier then for us to try and navigate with those flanking angles as that Xin, or even as that Cassante. Well, both bot laners now find themselves planted in the mid lane. As Refury in a bit of trouble right now, the flash to try and guarantee it all start off. As Refury is absolutely terrified of that one, and so much so that the Crescent Guard needs to be burnt, so Swiper doesn't die and the retreat out.
Oh, he is so confident, isn't he, Refury there? You can see the movement just dodging out on that third Intofo strike. It actually puts enough damage back into Swiper to force out that ultimate from him. So, yeah, he loses his flash, but it's a valiant effort and a valiant trade on the back end of that. Meanwhile, you can see Wudon up here in the top lane. I'm not sure what he's actually hoping to get done into the LeBlanc. You know, even with that Profane Hydra completed, there's just so much mobility to be able to dodge out on those combos. And for someone who is so ahead in the laning phase, it really has been about clawing back this XP deficit.
Certainly has been. It's starting to get away from them, right? Differences in both the jungle, the mid lane, as well as bot lane soon, as King is no doubt farming up an absolute storm here. And not too often we do see the farming setup. We certainly see a bit of a flip-flop between the two as to what is the preference, be it the farming or the fasting. But on this occasion, Styx wants to be the main carry threat and wants to get all those stacks as quickly as they can. They certainly need to rely upon that, be it down 2k.
Yeah, Swiper goes in.
Certainly does. Down comes the mummy. Here we go again. You summon your parents and they say, I'll give you that helping hand. Kurek is the focus, and Swiper will get himself his first kill of the game.
Nice little collapse there from the side of Antic, forcing out the flash as well from Styx there. You can see on the back end was getting chased down by Ryoma. So yes, this Senna and Ornn, they are tanky. They do have that scaling, but they're being targeted once again here, really. This time Kench has been such a nuisance, such a thorn in the side for Kanga, right? You can see that every time they try to find a trade, find a pick, doesn't matter if Drag 2 is in the area to nullify that. Now, 3,000 is the gold lead here as items across the board are being picked up, right? Basically everyone here has their first completed component. So it will be interesting to see how this next Dragon fight in a minute pans out.
Yeah, I'm quite curious to see what team decides is more valuable for them based on these side lanes right now. If I'm Ryoma, I don't have a TP. I don't really want to actually group up for this one. I want to keep going for this. Refu not having a TP as well, but does have the ultimate to try and cover that distance, would certainly make things a fair bit interesting here. What I know is going to say, well, we got the Herald, so we're going to try and really guarantee this mid lane control. And with a headbutt like that, this tower should be gone.
Yeah, the headbutt should have done enough damage here as the tower will fall in the mid lane. It's a nice opportunity to break that one open right before the dragon spawns. Give yourself a little bit more room, a little bit more flexibility in where you want to place your vision line. And they will head down towards this dragon. But just like you mentioned before, Ryoma showing no intention of leading the side lanes. He's got Swiper up there as well to look for him, but Zoranus may be caught here.
That for me is just hilarious there for Zoranus. He knows that 3 people are coming. He's still like, I need to get this control wall. Just, can you stop attacking me for a second and let me clear out this vision? But this is the great play from them. He's gone back in. He's still keeping them interested. He's got the ghost active. He's run into the alcove, but I tell you what, Zoranus, you've got no way out of this situation. You can go all out. You can dash, but there's just too much CC. But Max, he is committed 3 members to his lane. King's pushing mid. They're still cracking top lane. It's 4 turrets to 1.
Yeah, all the waves going in favor of Antic here. All the towers as well because of all the time that Zoran is able to buy now. Yes, Kanga will equalize the Dragon score, but it really is an open map for the side of Antic, and that plays so much into the hands of a champion like LeBlanc, right? All this vision that she can navigate around, get deep into the enemy jungle, threaten flanks and threaten poke, and we know just how aggressive Ryoma can be when he is enabled. And with a 40 CS lead, he doesn't have the prettiest KDA, but I'm sure he's certainly looking to fix that up as the game goes on.
Certainly will be. There's KDA, no doubt. It's a distant afterthought for a lot of these players, right? It sounds good, it looks good, but all they care about is guaranteeing themselves that best position going into playoffs. They really want that form check to come online, and certainly these teams will be hoping that those 6 weeks of reps on stage and in scrims is enough to try and hit that peak performance at the very right time. Oh, 193 stacks now on this Smolder. Very close in to the magical 225. We saw a bit of a glimpse last night when Lemus played that, and that mini execute coming into effect. Styx, no doubt, will be farming up an absolute treat himself. He's already got the Yomu's Ghostblade working towards that second item to come online as well, and then the center can certainly be a bit of a damage threat in retaliation, but they've got to weather the storm, right? Obviously no Baron Siege because we're not even at 20 minutes, but because of these 6 Void Grubs, Antic's saying, we don't care about any other objectives, it's just siege, siege, and keep on sieging.
And plain and simple, they're just the quicker team to move around the map. You can see they're shoving that mid wave. All the while they're bringing down Zoranus there to catch the next one that's coming, and that enables all 4 members of Antic to head towards that bot lane. You can see that they don't actually get to put any damage onto the turret, but it just speaks to their ability to move around the map, especially being enabled by this Cloud Soul. Really helps these hypermobile champions to just extend their lead.
Speaking of a hypermobile champion, there is Ryoma, but look at that from Fury. Completely spots him out there on the brush. Actually hits him with the stun too, as Invictus is in the area, and between these 2 major AP threats, they could certainly look to try and threaten LeBlanc. The flash from the Weaver's Wall to really guarantee that that seismic shove would find success. But Romy says, you've got good mobility, but I've got just a little bit more in my arsenal. And now have the overextended themselves as the audacious charge comes out there from Swiper to try and hit that. Wind becomes lightning, but it doesn't really matter. It's just that the range becomes those 2 Kanga members.
Fury once again putting the aggression onto Ryoma, manages to force a flash out there. Now it will be traded, but ultimately the LeBlanc losing flash here isn't going to stop any of this aggression coming out from Ryoma. Invictus there, unfortunately, not able to close the distance. This isn't the Ghost brand that we see very often. It is this flash, instead opting to kind of favor the split-second decision-making that such a summoner cell provides. And that's going to mean that he's not able to actually run down Ryoma. Invictus kind of has been the quiet achiever this game, sitting at 3-0-0, picking up almost every kill that Kanga has, and has now completed this Leandre. He's working his way towards that Rylai's, so if he's able to get these combos off in fights, he certainly will be able to blow up even the tanky members on Antic.
You certainly will be, and that is the difference, right, between his first item rush, where we've seen other brands, Bit, Schönfire, why not go for the Rylai's first for that utility and that sort of innate tankiness from what the HP he gained. He's gone for the rush straight for the Leandres. He just wants DPS, and like you say, with the Ghosts, it tends to be, the more common option in solo queue, but certainly in competitive, the flash just becomes ever too invaluable. On Vision, though, is the red buff that he's taking right now, and Ryoma in the area would be sniffing out trouble. He's waiting to see if anybody would dare face check him, but it might be Fury that does just that. But with the Venom Barrier, he can block these chains, and that doesn't even get procced.
Yeah, looking for a little pick there. It's a nice itemization here from Fury to pick that up, because, like you said, against the LeBlanc, that first chain landing really is the big trade maker there. It really can signal your defeat. So now 2 spell shields will be completed for the side of Kanga. Edge of Night here as well on Widon, which is a very nice pickup on Aatrox, right? This champion, especially when you're going the Profane Hydra lethality build, is quite squishy, quite vulnerable to falling down if he's hit with CC. So being able to pick that one up and potentially dodge a LeBlanc chain, potentially dodge, a Tahm Kench W, can make all the difference in the team fights. As we see now, both teams really prioritizing the vision towards this Baron. It's incredibly dark here for Kanga, and they don't have many tanky members who are actually able to walk up. I mean, yes, Ornn has that locket and has that inherent tankiness, but he's only level 10 skimmy, 5 levels down below Ryoma, 4 below the other solo laners. So it's quite a scary prospect to be walking into this jungle all alone.
Yeah, and that was the concern you raised during the draft, right, when you figure out, okay, exactly where is this Ornn going? And once it was confirmed it was going to be the support Ornn, you're thinking it's good, but it needs time. That was the big crutch about the champion, right? As you hit that level 13 mark as quickly as you can for those ornaments to start coming on through and being dispersed around your team. And that is going to be a world away. Last time we checked in with Styx, he had about 65 stacks as the center. They just need more time. but time might not be afforded to them because that's the flash, tongue lash into the Yachu as they lock down Sticks. He's flashed, he's got into the shadows, but he gets absolutely destroyed by King's Bomb.
Super well played there from Antic. The initial flash coming out straight away. They know that they have those other flashes to be able to chase him over the wall, and they will take Sticks down. That's so much of their damage, so much of their wave clearing budget on the mid lane being removed from the map entirely. Now they won't head towards this Baron. They won't favor themselves in terms of the low health bar that King has there, but they will take that second dragon, equalizing them at 2 apiece.
But I'll tell you what, Wooden's not really doing himself any favors for the memes that we cycle around, right? The classic of the 0-2-0 on the Aatrox. He's done it again. Almost feels like we're fitting for the 0-10 of a Yone or Yasuo kind of name at this point. But he's not really had too many chances to try and group up with the rest of the team, to be quite frank. The rest of the team have been really falling victim to a fair bit of pressure. And he has just been constantly just farming up a storm, really, with, well, I would say the most on his team, but the third in the game.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how he can actually impact the game once he does get towards those team fights, because right now, without the Aatrox, you lose so much of your backline diving potential. You can see that the brand does want to play a front to back with an Ornn in front of him, but then you need to have that Aatrox coming in as well, trying to get onto Smolder and trying to create some confusion, because right now, Draku, he doesn't even have to worry about using that Devour for his carries. He's purely focused on playing this Tahm Kench like it's an engaged champion. You can see Sticks once again, it's so isolated here on this mid wave, whereas all 5 members of Antic have been brought to the area, just going to clear out vision. And this Cassante, I mean, yes, Brand has damage, but certainly not enough to blitz down this top laner.
Oh, Draku though, very squishy as a tank. Don't have the aftershock, don't have those tanky options at this point, and that locket really has saved your life that time. Certainly with the thick skin working in tandem, it would have been a very dead frog.
Very dead frog indeed here as he manages to narrowly just walk out there with his life. It will enable Kanga here to get the first move on the mid lane though as that reset is coming through. So you can see they've brought Woodon down here as well. The hard part is dealing with all this wave clear, right? Smolder, if he gets a single second alone with the wave, but Kurak doesn't want to give him that.
Oh, he's missed a second charge. It's an absolute travesty right now, but King, with all the stacks in the world, can flap across the terrain, can hit you with a chew and really make sure that you're not running away from this one. The chains have to be flashed there by Refury, and Swiper is tanking up the world, keeping him locked in the mid lane as the Crescent Guard expires in Sub-Zonis and says, you're getting assassinated. Snipes Refury across that terrain and says, look, Baron is right there, boys. They've got no HP, they've got no Talia, and it's time to run this Aatrox down. His first chance to group up with the rest of the team, instantly dismissed.
Kanga, they want to get aggressive there on the mid wave, but Kurak goes a little bit too far forward. A little bit of a misexecution mechanically is going to allow Antic to get back into the game, and you can see that this Baron off the back end of it might really be the nail in the coffin. They're TPing Ryoma in as well here. Yes, Invictus has flash, but he's very far away from his Baron.
Certainly is, and that Baron is smashed down in such record time. Easy peasy, as you like it. And at this point now, you just think they have got such a stronghold in this game. Have they actually outscaled Kanga?
I mean, you can understand this little trigger pull here from Kurak. He knows that Draku has just based, so it's probably the time that King will be the most vulnerable. But with that initial engage fumbling, really the rest of Kanga isn't able to kind of catch up and make the distance. And then Wudon, he's dissuading Swiper, but once Zoranis comes in, there's just too many low HP bars, too many summoner spells already used that enables him to rip back Refury, kill this Talia, who really has been such a big problem. And then Wudon is very isolated, almost trades back 1-for-1, but will go down. And so it's 2 kills and a Baron going over to Antic.
It certainly is, Max, and now a big opportunity for Antic to try and say, we'll find a pick, we'll find a kill, and we'll completely expose your base as a result. They're up by nearly 5,000 gold. And I tell you what, very difficult now for Kanga to try and stick together as a 5-man unit. You can see that Refury constantly trying to attend these side lanes, but look at the damage from Ryoma from a million miles off my screen. He's just destroyed Sticks.
Where'd he go, Skimmy? He was there 1 second and the next he's completely removed. And once again, this center going down is going to have disastrous consequences for the base of Kanga. He's so much of what he's able to actually hit these minions as top mid lane.
Mid lane is the focus right now. Ryoma looking to try and get a bit of a taste of his own medicine, and he gets destroyed by Invictus. The real sole survivor, the one that's looking to try and carry his team on his back right now. He is 4-0. And Zora says, that's enough for Fury. You've had your fun in that side lane. Just let us win as we push for Baron.
Yeah, Will's going again though, Skimmy.
He certainly is going again right now as King looks to try and drop the ultimate. Getting knocked up now is the rest of Antic, but I mean, this execute is just a little bit too strong. You can drop all those cooldowns, sit inside the belly of the catfish, and then come back out to play again.
Yeah, they won't be able to crack the inhibitor, but they do get some kills going in their favor now. That solid kill by Invictus is incredibly important because it slows down the mid lane push there. Ryoma not able to use that Baron buff to shove down that mid wave and break the turret. So, yes, it's a trade 1-for-1, but you'd certainly be happy with that for Kanga. And then on the bot side of the map, they try to find a fight with this Aatrox, who hasn't been able to get anything going for him so far. But plain and simple, this Smolder is just way too fed at this point. A Kainic Rooker complete as well now for King. So not only is he able to execute, not only is he able to do all this damage, but he has the survivability to go with it.
He certainly does, and at this point you're just thinking that's kind of ridiculous. He's already so tanky with his ability to be protected by this time Kench. And now adding a tank item on top of that, it just once again shows the versatility in this champion pick, right? Be it the Frozen Heart, be it the Iceborne Gauntlet. You build tank, but you've got all the damage now because of that execute.
Yeah, going to be doing so much true percent HP that even the tanky members, I mean, who are you really looking at as a tank here on the side of Kanga? It's this Ornn, who's level 12, not really going to be able to have much in the way of base stats to actually compete with this Smolder. And so it's going to be down to this damage. They do have that in spades, luckily. If they're able to find one member, they should be able to blow them up. Unless Draku is in the area and he's been so good at denying vision. You can see this top side here, Antic, very far pushed up. Just trying to create room for Ryoma to get to work. And get to work, he absolutely will.
In the focus now. Woodon in trouble. Edge and I easily broken as a result as they're looking to try and dangerously escape their own base. Not easy for them to do right now though. Antic have caught them in a bit of a pinch. The vision line is highly advanced by them. And they know exactly where Kanga are. They are stuck in a corner and unable to really try and fight their way out of this because all three lanes are being threatened at once.
And these side lanes are really going to be where the pressure's starting to mount. You can see Kanga kind of have the unfavorable 2v2 there going. You can see that Woodon losing very handedly to Ryoma, who's just able to dash in and dash out of these Aatrox combos, deal damage where he pleases while taking that himself, and then Zoranis just simply never dies to Talia. We saw what happened when they're in a 1v1 isolated situation previously. Just resulted in the easiest solo kill of his life here. So Kanga, gold lead starting to mount 8,000 against them. And with this Baron spawning in a minute and a half, they're going to need something desperate to be able to claw this one back.
They certainly do need something desperate at this point. Unfortunately, no luxury of an Elder to try and contest, and it gives them that sort of cheap tempo of, that false scaling, if you will, to maybe try and flip a game and get themselves back into the Swan. But a Baron is certainly on the cards, and with a minute until that one does become online, you really are hoping that Kanga can try and find themselves a free item across the board, and that certainly is the case at this point, with the second item now being picked up here by Kurak in the Knight's Vow. Any extra bit of protection would certainly be sorely needed, and Zoranis just continues to be a bit of a menace and really says that, look, you can never group up as 5 because we're always threatening every single angle. Finally, they break through the turret in the mid lane. They've been searching for such a long time. As the sneeze onto Woodon just means that Ryoma says it's all too easy and destroys him once again from a million miles away. Draku snipes him, gives him the shield. Down comes the dragon, absolutely destroying our ears as Fury just narrowly escapes the damage that King is hunting for, but he flashes to confirm it. Ryoma, in the end, falls on down, and King is flapping and killing.
Kanga needed a miracle, but all they're going to find is the defeat screen, and a fantastic fight off the back end of Ryoma, blowing up Woodon and creating all this room for King to get to work. Finally, we get to see Smolder in all his glory, and boy, is he frightening.
He certainly is. It's a terrifying champion, and it seems like these top teams have clocked on that this is a champion worth first picking. In both games, we've mentioned how it can look pretty weak in the early game, but maybe not so if you just make your tank be very aggressive. The Arcane Comet working wonderfully there for Draku, and, well, ultimately, it was just too much for Kanga to try and recover from. Antic at the break, lead 1-0.